everybody. Wow, that
Hello.
countdown is so ominous. It's like, oh, we're getting to the moment. It's so exciting. Hi Stefania, how are you today?
I'm great. A little bit of a technical malfunction to get the day started, but hopefully it's smooth sailing from here.
Welcome to the show. So hello everybody. This is Alexa Developer Office Hours for January 24th, 2023. I'm hosting today. You may have seen me before. If not, hi, I'm Amanda Lange. I am the Alexa Developer Community Manager, and I'm taking Jeff's place today in order to host the show because Jeff wasn't available. And also, I'm going to be around. This is part of my job too. So I hope to be on the camera a lot more in the coming year, and we'll see y'all a lot as we get started with the 2023 office hours. And if I ever glance over here, it's because I'm watching the Twitch chat. Although I know we also have, chat coming in, so I'm going to try and keep an eye on everybody saying hello and everything. But I've done a lot of Twitch streaming in my day, so I'm really used to like the Twitch interface for chat. With me today is Stefania Sharp from Alexa. She's going to be answering some of your technical questions that I can't answer. And between the two of us, we hope to have a really good conversation today. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself as well a little bit?
Yeah, so not my first time on the stream, but I think things have probably changed a bit since I last was here. So I am, as Amanda mentioned, I'm Stefania Sharp. I'm the lead solutions architect for our healthcare vertical within Alexa Smart Properties. For real quick, for those who are not familiar what Alexa Smart Properties is, it is putting Alexa devices essentially into various facilities. So if you saw the Hey Disney launch at CES, the demo that they had there, as well as heard about the rollout at the Disney resorts, that is the Alexa Smart Properties team. So that's one of our cuter examples of Alexa kind of with you when you're not at home. I particularly work with healthcare providers, so hospitals. You may end up, hopefully you don't end up in a hospital, but if you do, you might see Alexa in your room there to help with any questions or asks you have. So that's me.
That's terrific. Now, let me ask you a fun question. Did you get to go to Disney and try out the stuff that they have going on there?
Oh my gosh, the irony of this is on my team of about, I have to do the math again, I think 8 people now. On my team of 8 people, I am the biggest Disney parks fan, not to be accused of being the biggest Disney fan. I just love Disney theme parks. I think they're absolutely delightful.
Me too. Love them.
Probably because the first time I went was as an adult. So so as the biggest fan of the team, I have not actually been I'm the only one that hasn't been out to see it in action. Yeah, it's deeply devastating. I complained to my colleague who's managing that rollout every time. I said, how is this possible? But my team is really sweet. A bit of a tangent. They do have the Magic Bands. You would have seen a Magic Band demo at CES, which I think is super cool. They launched the Magic Band Plus last year, and there was a particular one that had all the Disney princesses on it. And I was just like, as an adult, I've embraced a love of, just things that as a kid I thought were too girly. And so I really wanted this Magic Band, and I couldn't find it anywhere internet. Didn't trust aftermarket. So my team, when they went out there to meet with Disney, actually scoured the park, got a bunch of executives involved trying to find this particular Magic Band. They were unsuccessful, but I thought it was the sweetest thing ever. So
well, they tried their best. I don't have a lot of Disney stuff in my office. I have Darkwing. Darkwing's like
that counts. That actually counts probably triple. I love that there's been so speaking of Darkwing.
And I have Emperor Zurg, right?
Emperor's, yeah. Exactly. things that extra count. So
I like Darkwing.
Back, oh my gosh, it would be when I started my career with Alexa. I actually started out on the Kids Plus team. It was called something else back then, and we did a bunch of skill launches for content for kids, and one of those was Disney, and I had the pleasure of working with an amazing team at Disney on that and seeing how they do the voice acting and everything else. And they had a bunch of homages, kind of nods within one of the skills to older, I think Tailspin or Rescue Rangers had a reference in there. I believe it's been a while, so nobody quote me on that, but I just remember being extremely excited to see some of the older content. They're really big on their kind of duck franchises. Oh, look, it's Paul Cutts in here.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun stuff. Well, Jeff always has his Funko Pops in the background, and my toy collection is a little bit more eclectic because I've got like a variety of things, but my big one is Transformers. So if you recognize any of the, and that's Actually, at Disney, nothing. That's Goliath right there from the Gargoyles. I have.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So super. We were talking earlier about retro and how painful retro is. Retro is now just my childhood.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
it's
Exactly. Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, Rescue Rangers. This
we
became
have the creator of the mouse guests skill on the call today too. We shout that out. So I probably
awesome.
should handle some of our announcements. You were talking about CES. We actually have a video playlist of all of our CES products and demos that's now live. We're going to post a link on the stream there for you. So that's our CES 2023 playlist. If you want to see the Hey Disney skill and the other skills that we announced and the other hardware pieces that we announced during CES this year, check out that playlist. There's a lot of cool stuff there. Right down below me here on the screen, you're going to see some really fantastic stuff that they showed off in Vegas this year. So that's super exciting. I also want to mention that tomorrow, before I get too deep in the weeds here, we're going to have a tech talk. And that is going to be hosted by Jeff Blankenberg. He's coming back. Don't worry if you missed Jeff. 10 a.m. Pacific is the time for that, which my time of day is 1 p.m. because I'm on the East Coast. But he's going to be discussing 5 things every voice app should do, which is I believe, an abbreviated version of a talk that he's given, which is 10 things every voice app should do. So you're going to get 5 of them. The 5 big ones, I think. So that's going to be tomorrow, our January Tech Talk. We're getting our Tech Talk series started off this year with a talk from Jeff, and we're going to have great Tech Talks for you throughout the entire year. So just hope, if you're interested in that, go ahead and sign up at the link below, boop, boop, and then you can hook up to that. So that's almost all the announcements. Before I get to the last thing, let me go ahead and grab some of the chit chat in the chat here, because we've already got a lot of, some people are talking about Disney. Hi from the UK. Hello to the UK. Is it cold there today? I'm seeing that it's cold. We're about to get snow here in Philadelphia, where I am. So I'm kind of getting my warm weather clothes on, getting ready for the snow that we're about to get. I'm getting some winter weather warnings. I don't know how it is in your neck of the woods out there, Stefania. It's pretty okay.
I think it's about 7 degrees Celsius right now. So not too terrible for Washington. Could be worse, I guess.
Yeah. And so we're talking about Hey Disney. Don't have a Magic Band Plus yet, though. Yeah, so Disneyland Disney World is my other home. I have a huge collection of Magic Bands. I've been to Disney World 5 or 6 times. My parents used to have a season pass because they lived closer to Florida, so World. But I've been to Disneyland 3 times as well. So I've done both. I haven't done any of the ones internationally, though.
It's really great. I personally, for me personally, the first time I went to Disneyland was end of 2019. And I find it's easier to get from location to location over there. And obviously it's a lot closer for us on the West Coast, but I think,
right.
all the parks have something special. I'm super excited to personally try out the Magic Band Plus integrations with Alexa, with some fun gadgets tech, and then hopefully get to one day stay at one of the resorts that have the devices. And that's how much of a parks nerd that I am.
That would be so exciting. Last time we went, it was our goal to do the Drink Around the World challenge at Epcot. So we stayed at the Dolphin because it was right behind, so it's easier to get back and forth. But it was also the week that Pandora opened.
So yeah,
that was pretty crazy.
That also dates it a little bit. Yeah, no, I think I think everybody has tried that majestic task in one form or another. To me, it was just a lot of sugar. So it became, I joke, became locate the bathrooms in Epcot around the world, because there's just so much liquid. But there's also a couple of really great bloggers that do the kind of the hidden beverage list. I highly recommend trying it out.
That's very nice.
We have we have a request for the CES link again.
Yeah, you want to put that CES link up one more time? Yeah, let's do that. Let's keep those links on the screen. So once again, that's our CES playlist if you missed it. Check this out. Sure. Do we want to have our names on the screen as well? I'm not usually the one hosting, so I can absolutely do that. Let's go ahead and have our names on the screen.
Nobody needs to, you can just,
yeah.
Nobody needs to know our name.
Nobody needs to know our name. No. Yeah, I'm Amanda. I actually Twitch stream as well, but if you see me on Twitch on my usual account, I use an avatar. I don't usually show my face, so it's gonna be a 50-50 thing for me. And can we get the Tech Talk link as well? Do we want to go ahead and switch to that again? Thank you so much. So that's going to be the January Tech Talk tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific, with Jeff. Jeff's going to be talking about the 5 things every voice app should do. Again, sometimes he talks about 10 things, so you guys are getting the 5 things, the 5 most important things. He's got a really good list of stuff. I've seen the talk. I think it's terrific. I think he'll do a great job. And I'm going to point out in the chat, mouse guests can help you locate restrooms. Thank you.
Oh, that's good to know. I will genuinely check that out. I will genuinely check that out. My homework for you though is to go get a Magic Band Plus. I do not get commissioned for pushing the Magic Band Pluses. I think they're super cool. If I had mine, I would show you. I think it's really great, especially the Batu bounty hunters. You go around and try and locate things and do kind of AR with your phone. Anyways, so a lot of fun stuff to do with that hardware. There were other stuff at CES though. My team was there, so if you were fortunate enough, you could go around and try and sneak a nap on the hotel setup that we had going on. There was a bed. My favorite part of being on this team is all of our conference appearances come with a bed in one form or another. So I know we were doing that. I think the Echo Auto team was there as well. A lot of look at kind of the devices in action and various integrations that we're going to be working on.
So with the bed, did you have the sleep analyzer next to that? Is that the setup there?
I do not believe the Halo Rise was next to the bed. I was not there. I personally do not like going to Vegas, and so any opportunity I can just vicariously watch others there is I tend to take those. But I personally am really interested in the Halo Rise. I think that's one of my favorite features about the Halo band was the sleep tracking. I felt it was it was for me much better than other bands I have used, and so I was like, hey, you just took all the feature I really like in the Halo band and put it into a device. And so I am
to wear it on your wrist while you sleep.
Yeah. I don't wear jewelry at all. Not even my wedding ring. So it's kind of, for me, it's important to not have things that I can bang into walls or other stuff. So excited to try it out. Plus it looks really nice. I like the way devices have evolved over the years.
It's an attractive looking device.
Yeah.
I was at Vegas, but only for AWS reInvent. I didn't go to CES, but I was at reInvent. It's my last trip to Vegas.
What were some cool things at reInvent? I know there was a bit of content, so I'm asking you to condense it down to like 1 or 2.
There was a lot of stuff at reInvent. Well, I saw Jeff's talk there while I was there. I attended some other talks about AWS because I'm personally interested in, learning all the lift and shift stuff that I'm working on, upskilling in and being sure that I have a good view of the atmosphere holistically. But also they had a really cool science fair where they're showing off some really neat tricks with Alexa and with other AWS type services. So there was a science fair where they had a robot that you could control with your brain. You plug in, and that's AWS. And then they had one where it was I'm trying to think. They had a steampunk setup that had valves and all these crazy old fashioned gizmos and gears, but it was still hooked into the cloud, even though it was really retro looking and had vacuum tubes and stuff. And everybody that was at the booth was dressed super steampunky with waxed mustaches and the hats. And it was just so cool. So that was really neat. It's not Alexa stuff, but it's all AWS stuff that was just fun to see people hooking things into the cloud and the different stuff that we can accomplish with that. And
like Brian Tarbox mentioned on Twitch, Alexa has a relatively small footprint at reInvent. And that's, we're not in an AWS service. We're more of somebody that plays really well with AWS services. So that's part of the reason. So it's good to see, it's exciting to see kind of Jeff presenting on that. I know a lot of people are even more than ever interested in how we integrate voice with just things beyond, the things we were already doing. One feature I find super provoking that came out of that, not necessarily out of reInvent, but out of last year, was the Chime SDK for Alexa. So this ability to integrate calling with your Alexa skills through AWS. I think we've seen, at least from my side, I've seen a rise in demand for that and a rise in communication features outside of just being able to talk between the Alexas and do drop-in. So a couple of features sneaking in there that are, designed specifically to work with Alexa.
I think it'd be great. I'm not ignoring the questions in the chat, by the way. We had one like way earlier from LinkedIn. The conversation was flowing and I just wanted to, keep it going. But I do see a question on LinkedIn. Hi, greetings, Lima Peru. Alexa's development, is it threatened by the exponential growth of AIs like ChatGPT? How do you feel about that? What do you think about ChatGPT?
It's so interesting. So my partner is obsessed with ChatGPT. He's just curious about what you put into it, kind of what you'll get out, and how you can modify the way you talk. I've personally, tried to get it to write more literary type things, and I think that's where it's not as creative. But with things like replicating code concepts and talking about more science related topics, I find it's pretty solid. There is somebody, an essay in AWS posted on LinkedIn. They did a ChatGPT integration with an Alexa skill. From looking at it, I can tell it's just using the search query slot to pull in the verbatim utterance ish,
right,
and then go from there. So I would say, it feels like it's the future of search for sure. Like we're going to get into these more organic search, but as far as carrying on contextual conversations, as with most AIs, ChatGPT is in its infancy, which is also terrifying. I think there was an article where they had ChatGPT write a song in the style of, it's not Tom Waits, but it's
Nick
right
Cave.
now Nick Cave, yes, and Nick Cave hated it, but he also talked about how. And
I saw that article.
Yeah, and when you read the lyrics, you're like, yeah, no wonder this sounds like some '90s, core band that's like, oh no, anyways.
It sounds like Nick Cave, but it sounds derivative of Nick Cave. It doesn't have the soul. Yeah.
But one thing in there that was really thought-provoking that he wrote is that, like, this is terrifying because this is just in its infancy, so it has room to grow. So I would say this is just the future, and I think with all things in the future, you can resist it or you can go with it. And I think the ecosystem of how we do natural language is only going to get better because people are creating services like ChatGPT.
Yeah, I've been doing natural language processing stuff in the abstract in various forms since, probably the last 15, 20 years. And so this job for me is a natural extension of that. But I think that ChatGPT and Alexa are doing two very different things. Alexa is a servicing, it's giving me the skills that people are creating. It's giving me access to all that different stuff. It's not about like filling in a conversation, which is what ChatGPT is about. Like you ask it a question and get an answer. It's a different kind of language processing, right? And the way that we're doing it is different from how they're doing it. Now, they're like you said, integration's totally possible between the two ways of meshing those interactions. So, in fact, I see in the chat we've got a link to a Alexa plus ChatGPT video. That's in the Twitch chat. But if you're on the Twitch chat, there's some people that have been doing some integration with that.
Mr. Senior Nelson, who's on my extended team, has been playing around with ChatGPT, I guess, and has and Alexa, and has a GitHub repo up on the Twitch channel as well. So yeah, I think I don't know. I'm just excited of where it's going to go. I also think that advancements, make other people think differently. You see this with the other companies that are in this space, specifically in search, is now they're going to maybe reapproach a situation or look at things differently because now they're like, oh, hey, I didn't think to do it like this. So I think we'll see more investments in this type of, AI, and we'll see more investments in this type of learning and advancement, and that can only benefit everybody. So I guess me personally, also because I don't represent all of Alexa, I don't think it's threatening. I think it's exciting.
Yeah, me too. I think it's super exciting. And I think the possibilities are just opening up like all over the place with what we can do with integrating these different systems. And it's funny how much AI has kind of taken by storm the internet over the past just a few months, really. there's been kind of a resurgence. I mean, I'm on the internet a lot, right? And people are talking constantly about what they're doing with AI. And there's controversies. People don't necessarily think that AI should do art. Some people think AI should do art. And I think these conversations are really valuable because I just want to see us explore AI in like the most exciting and future forward and ethical ways. All of those things, right?
Yeah, I think that the biggest challenge is ethical, and I think where what people see as consumers is a lot of limitations. It's human beings trying to kind of put guardrails around what AI can do. And so for a consumer, it's like, this thing doesn't do what I want it to do. But internally, we're like, we gotta, we gotta guide, because as we mentioned, these things are in their infancy. I would say Alexa is maybe like a young adult at this point. That's generous. Alexa's barely out of that infancy, and so we have to guide this child through the decisions it's making, and that's sometimes it's it doesn't do everything you want it to, but we're trying to direct it.
With machine learning, the idea of guiding a child is really kind of true, right? Because you're kind of giving it input and training it, teaching it. And even with Alexa, that's what you do. You train your utterances to understand the different queries that users are bringing in. So it's all about like training the model and teaching it. And so, it is very much like guiding a child out of infancy in a lot of ways.
It is.
All right. What other comments do we have in the chat here?
I think we have a question about Alexa hosted skills from Talk to Bots.
Yeah. So it says, my skill is Alexa hosted. After doing a recent update in the dev version, which I promoted to live, the live version is telling me your default endpoint has changed and the code is now hosted by Alexa. Now my dev version is actually live instead of my live version. Okay. Is that something that I don't know how to fix that. I think I've seen questions like this before. So what do you think?
So I personally do not work with Alexa hosted skills. I do know we have somebody with us from our developer advocacy group who may have the answer to this, but I've never even heard of this happening before. Most of my customers use
the
cloud services.
Yeah. Live version. We'll look into that. We'll see if the DAG team has an answer for that. It might be something that we just have to find out more information about from you to see what the problem is there. This is a good time for me to plug the Slack, by the way, because sometimes we get into these conversations on the Slack. If we've got the link for that, we can put that up as well. You may already be on the Slack, but if you're not, we have a developer Slack. Y'all can join. Oh, and we got our names up on the screen. Thank you, team, for putting the wrong direction. I'm getting my name up there. Yeah, that's our Slack. So if you do have, want to go talk to the team in a more depth, we do have the Alexa Slack. That's a good place to get a little bit more custom tech support for things that require showing us screenshots or going back and forth. But we'll take a note of that for DAG team and see if that's the thing that's happening a lot. Yeah, right. Yeah, so we talked before, Amy. We'll continue to chat. If I just see your comment. Yeah, talks to bots. Good. Yeah. I thought I saw your question before. Cool. I'm still learning everybody's Twitch names because my Twitch name isn't my name either. So
unfortunately mine is, but I do not stream or do anything interesting on Twitch, so no need to look that up. So
I stream video games mostly. Jeff Blankenberg is doing live coding on his Twitch lately, and it's actually really cool because you can watch him like build his Alexa skills live. I always feel like when I'm coding, I like to talk when I'm on the stream, and coding and talking at the same time, I'm not good at doing that because I'm like trying to type and trying to talk. So I haven't gotten to the point where I feel comfortable coding live on stream. I tried it a couple times and I felt a little bit crazy. But I think I will get up the courage to start doing that again in the future because I am working on a skill. It's really nerdy and it's going to be really fun to get that done. So let's look out. So yeah, we'll talk more about the hosting issue. Thank you, by the way, for being here and asking, and we'll get you sorted. We'll chat a little bit more about that. We'll see what DAG has to say. What else is in the chat right now? This is a great question. How is Alexa helping for food and cooking industries?
So we've had the recipes kind of feature set since 2019. So if you've never tried this, I'm pretty sure I've talked about this on office hours before because I found it absolutely fascinating. Is skills like the all recipe skills with the integrated video. You can actually, as you're reading the ingredients, learn how to butterfly a chicken. If you've never learned how to do that, I learned it from that particular skill. So there are, from the cooking standpoint, there are various skills that are integrated with Alexa that'll help you from doing recipes to learning different knife skills and anything you can think of. There's also CookPad. Yes, I
love the recipes, the all recipes skill. Whenever it pops up something that looks like it's delicious, I'm just like, I'll just save that. I'll just save that. And what's great too is I could be like, oh, I have blah in my fridge. What's a recipe that I can use to? And sometimes I'll get like a really good, like, oh, you could do this, and it'll give you like, how do I make thing? And it just pops right up on my show device, which is so useful. I've always wanted like, if you have a recipe on your phone and you're like in the kitchen and you're trying to glance at your phone, you have to keep it awake by tapping it, and you've got chicken grease on your hands. It's not a great experience, but the Echo Show has solved that for me totally. Now it's just there and I can look at that. But
no, I think that's a key component is a lot of people, especially, 2020, 2021, we're sitting there looking at what's left in my pantry. I don't really want to go to the store, so what can I do with it left over? As far as and also Tapster on Twitch reminded me we also have the CookPad experience, which is great for looking up recipes as well, and that is available in multiple locales. So in particular, I think at the Alexa Live, in which I have this shirt from, and I'm not doing the logo correctly, we demoed the CookPad Japan experience. Which was really cool. I had to figure out what the recipe was, but it looked really tasty at the time, and I haven't tried it out yet though.
What was the recipe?
Oh gosh, I'd have to look it up again.
Okay.
It's been a couple of years now, but yeah, the Japan website has some excellent, very tasty looking recipes that I have to translate, but you have the ability. You can save recipes, you can pull them up again.
Thank you for your question, Native Cooking. It's always a great topic. I love to talk about cooking, so I could go on and on. And then a couple more ChatGPT conversations here. Let's see what else we got I integrated the ChatGPT API. It wasn't too hard. Well, that's great. Yeah, I think if you want it, try it. Give it a shot. If it's not too hard, go for it. It's always cool to see people experimenting with adding new APIs to their skills. Question on Twitch. I'm glad to see someone here from Smart Properties, especially the healthcare side. I was developing a HIPAA compliant skill. I noticed there is training and guidance for property pollution. Is this training appropriate for healthcare skill developers? Do you want to speak to that? Because this is a good question for you to answer.
Yeah, this is a great question for me. So, as is not a secret on the internet, it's kind of our Alexa's ongoing evaluation of our offerings. We did sunset the HIPAA eligible skill program for the consumer skills side. So that means anything outside of Alexa Smart Properties. So I know it's still up there right now, but you'll start to see some of that guidance that we had being moved around over to the Smart Properties side. We do still allow HIPAA eligible skills within the ASP context. We call them hidden skills, so they do not show up in the skill catalog, and they're available only for the properties they're enabled on. So happy to talk further about kind of how you can explore skills in the ASP healthcare space. But essentially, to answer your question, there is no guidance for just healthcare skill developers in general.
Okay. So if the guidance is specifically for the Smart Property Solution developers right now.
Smart Property Solution developers. And again, we do have a contact us form on the website that'll direct you to our inbound team. And we can get you set up if you're interested in exploring skills within Smart Properties. There's some really great features that we get in properties that you don't get in just Alexa sitting in the home. So for example, there's a lot more control that the property owners have over the devices. They can send notifications, announcements, what we call persistent visual alerts. So you can actually send a visual to the screen. And it's all about, you have to think of it in the context of these devices are in senior living facilities, so independent and assisted living. So you're telling residents, hey, we have today we got bingo at 5, please come do that. So there's a lot more control over that, but it's also a lockdown device because we want to protect the privacy of the users who are using that device, which is why we were able to kind of keep the HIPAA eligible skills for that space. But similar concepts in healthcare, quite a few features there. You can see the healthcare documentation, and I'm going to butcher the link, which means I have to go look it up.
I was going to say, do you have a suggested link to send folks to? Yeah.
Yeah, I will. I will send it over to the team to put up in the chat.
Excellent. Yeah, good to know. So those guidance will be there as well. In the meantime, we have shameless plug, Alexa Open CookPad. Oh, okay. I'll check that one out. Is that your if that's your skill, I gotta try it. I gotta know. I'm gonna make a note of that right now. I always like to try the skills of people who are hanging out in the chat with us.
Looks like we have a LinkedIn user asking about the APL video component. Let me check if somebody's actually answered it already. No, somebody has not.
Oh, yeah.
So
let's go to that question next then. I'm going to read it out loud because we have multiple chats circulating. And keep the context. I have an APL video component. Is there an on-track update event triggered? How often does that get triggered? Does it get triggered every second or every other second? Oh, that's a dad question because I don't know.
Oh, it's been a while since I've touched video component. It should be on an update occurring, so I don't think it has an actual.
Yeah, I don't think it's at a specific time rate. It's whenever it's on update, so whenever it updates.
Yeah, it says command run when the current video track changes. So on track update would be if you're doing a array of videos, or if you're changing the track, that's when it would trigger. So it's not on a cadence. It's whenever the video changes.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Hope that answers your question. So thank you. Next question. I'm also very interested in providing Alexa for smart properties in my area. This is a question from Twitch. Soundmaster AJ, nice to hear from you. I'm in an area with many rental properties and hospitality. I have the contacts for how to approach and validate. Can you help describe how a developer can engage these clients? Wow, great question. That's a good question.
Got it. Okay, that's a packed question. I don't know if
it is.
I don't know if I can fit a whole introduction. Maybe we should do a follow-up office hours where I give you the intro to ASP and how we work. But so for this one, I know you're talking about rental properties and hospitality. That is one of the areas that we work with. So for this, essentially, you would want to get started by understanding, I would recommend Alexa Smart Properties first. And so that involves, we have our own set of APIs for managing what we call units. And so a unit is just a virtual room where devices are placed, and that's where they kind of get their settings. So learning about those various APIs, as well as maybe poking around our console. I, again, probably could do a future demo on what that console looks like and how each of the components works. But yeah, I just recommend to get started, you would want to get access to all of that, which requires reaching out again to that Contact Us link. We can give you a primer on how ASP works, and then not sure I can give you great advice on how to engage with a client. I think that varies person to person, but kind of presenting, we can give you kind of our primer on here's where we see cost savings and just customer delighters with ASP, which people have started to use. The biggest issue is across all three industries that we support is staff shortages, right? So there's not enough nurses in healthcare. There's not enough caregivers in senior living. There's not enough staff in hotels. And so the key thing about ASP is building skills that help to replace some of the more tedious tasks. So imagine, I'll give the healthcare example because that's the space I work in. A patient is constantly pressing the call button, which they like to do. It's not unusual. They like to do that, like to have somebody there. And they're asking, I need ice. I need a towel. I need another pillow. I need assistance going to the bathroom. I need, when is lunch? So one of those is one where you would want a nurse or staff to come and help the patient, which is assistance moving around, mobility. But everything else, I could probably have sent that to somebody who's not, an on-call nurse, trying to see to patients who do need that assistance. And so it's all about redirecting those commands, those requests to other parts of the facility, so that you can kind of free up time for people who are focused on tasks that require critical care. So that's really where we approach it, is how you can add those economies of scale in terms of helping staff be, focus as my business developers used to like to say, nursing staff can focus on the top of their license. So all of us want to be doing that thing for which we went to school for, and that thing which we're really good at. And it's sometimes tiring when we have to do things like go get somebody ice. So that's our main focus area.
That's really cool. That's really good context. Basically just helps people to be more efficient, and that's what we hope technology is going to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see more and more integrations in other parts of Amazon. So, for example, the Just Walk Out technology. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Amazon Go. You go in now in the Seattle area, you scan your palm if you do that setup, and you go in and you get a snack. I do it for lunch when I go into the office, and you walk back out, and you don't handle a cashier. Everything goes directly to your account. We're starting to see where people are looking about integrating Just Walk Out technology in other ways. So we've had it in sports stadiums, for example.
Cool.
But also, you could think about other use cases, cafeterias in hospitals. Imagine if you didn't have to have somebody on a cashier on staff 24/7, you could use the Just Walk Out technology for after hours meals, because, people are in a hospital 24/7. They're not just there 9 to 5. And so having that kind of support allows them to reallocate funding to their staff, to their nursing staff. And also is just really cool.
It is really cool. It is really cool. Yeah, sports stadiums is a great use case. I mean, I don't go to a lot of sports stadiums, but I was at a football game, and it's like you have to get out of your seat to go get your nachos, and then you got to wait in like a crowded line, and there's that extra friction of like having to have the exchange, and you're fumbling for your wallet and all that stuff like in the middle of the game, and you want to get back to watching the game with your goodies, right?
Exactly. I believe, gosh, my colleague's going to kill me because he worked on this, but I believe that there's a stadium here in Seattle, Climate Pledge Arena, actually has the Just Walk Out technology, and also has Alexas in the suites. Again, you could ask, hey, can I get another bottle of X while you're watching the game, and you don't have to go bother somebody or chase them down. But yeah, that's great. A lot harder in stadiums, I think, to do Alexa because it's so loud.
But, the noise pollution. I imagine that like the luges and stuff is the right place to do all the testifiers for all that stuff, because down in the stands it gets very noisy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's and I always like to tell people, in 5 years at Alexa, one conversation that I feel like I genuinely have every time is this a right use case for voice? I think everybody we really want to find ways to be hands-free and to use voice, because it is fun. It's cool. It's still cool. It's still exciting. But sometimes I have to look and say, hey, sometimes there's certain use cases where a touchscreen is probably more appropriate, and definitely loud stadiums are that use case, which is why even in those suites where you do have some noise dampening, it is display devices. So
it's the right tool for the job.
They can touch around as well as talk to the device and get the job done.
So what else do you have in the chat? Thank you for addressing my query on food and cooking. No problem. Happy to do it. We're here to answer your questions, and we're trying to get to all of them. I like to go on tangents. Sorry, it's what I do. Next question from YouTube. Ever experience illicit slots repeating themselves in their interaction model? If two intents need to elicit the same slot data, each intent will create a new slot object, which can be the same. So is that a bug that you're facing? Because that might be another one for our DAG team to take a look at.
It sounds like it seems like more of a statement.
Okay.
Is that sometimes you need to use the same slots for illicit slot. But yes, each so strictly speaking, the use of a slot within each intent is a unique instance of that slot. So if you want to talk about it from a code standpoint, slots are classes, and within an intent, you're just instantiating that. So you will end up with two illicit slot objects. You could even actually use the same slot twice, technically. Don't recommend it. It's very confusing for the systems. But this does seem to be a little bit more of a statement. But let us know, Benjamin, on YouTube if there's a question in there.
Right. Let me have the link for the smart properties in the chat. Thank you for getting to that, team. I feel like Alexa is not as its fullest when integrating with Meta Portal Go. Are there any plans to integrate Alexa with Meta Portal Go? I have not used Meta Portal Go. Have you, Stefania, at all?
I have not. I have enough devices in my life, and I genuinely do not know any roadmap around integrations with the portal. So we'd have to.
Sorry, we don't know about that one. Neither of us have tried or used it, or it's not on our radar. But thank you for asking. It's an interesting question. We always keep track. If we have a follow up later, we usually find information. But I don't think either of us have any knowledge of Meta Portal Go right now. Gosh, what else is in the chat today? How can Alexa custom assistant leverage ChatGPT? I feel like we've kind of touched a lot on ChatGPT today. People really have a lot of questions about ChatGPT. Would Alexa custom assistant be different from the way that the other integrations that we're doing with ChatGPT right now?
I'm apologizing. I was pulling up the link for Contact Us for smart properties.
Oh, right. So we had questions about Contact Us for smart properties. We want to get that link in the chat as well. Yeah, we're going to share that link with you. Stefania just shared the contact link. Meta Portal is EOL'd. Well, that answers that question. Somebody on Twitch says Meta Portal is EOL'd. So
that would explain why.
That would explain why neither of us have used it.
Neither of us have really used or tried it. Yeah. Learn something new. I do want to caveat. I feel like as the years go on, I become less and less of this. I would say an expert on Alexa because we just have so much stuff. So there are entire pieces of hardware. So for example, Alexa Smart Properties only supports a subset of our devices. So the Echo Show 8, the Show 5, the Dot Gen 3, Gen 2. I could probably do the whole list right here, but it's a subset. And so any device that is outside of that subset these days, I'm like, it could do things. I'm sure it does really exciting things. I just don't know what it does because it's Alexa Smart Properties itself is so vast, and there's so many things that you can do that it's hard for me to keep up with the other side of the skills house these days. But I did hear that next week you're going to have some buddies of mine on the office hours. Ryan Matthews from our games team. Who else is coming?
I was just about to bring that up. Yeah, I've got it. I was about to say, Chris Subiago is going to Chris Subaggio. Sometimes I threw an L in there. Is going to be here next week. My background as a developer is in games. I spent a lot of time in the game space. Been to GDC a handful of times. As you can see, I've got my game friends on the screen here. I'm big into video games. So most of my knowledge about like what's cool and what's happening tends to live in that space a lot of the time, and I'm pretty much plugged in. But sometimes with like things like smart properties, I need to ask questions because I don't know what else is going on. But next week we're going to have some folks from the Alexa Games team. They're going to be here and they're going to be joining us to share some tips and tricks on how to build great games on Alexa. I think I'm going to join for that office hours too, because I'm going to have some questions for Bob and then see if Jeff is going to let me. Jeff is going to be back, but I think I'm going to be back too, because games is my favorite thing. And I have so much to talk about and say with regard to that. And hopefully this year, I'm going to be doing some tips and tricks for web API gaming as well, because the games side is a passion of mine. So next week, if you have questions about games, the games web API, our next office hours are going to have Ryan Matthews, Chris Subaggio. They're going to be sharing tips and tricks for great games on Alexa, and I'm so jazzed about that. Not that the smart property stuff isn't jazzing too, because I'm so excited about all that stuff too.
ours is a little less flashy, so you'll definitely get more visual stimulation from the games experience, and we're more I like to say boring practicality, but Disney notwithstanding. So yeah, these if you really are interested in web API for games, Chris Subaggio has been on the games team probably as long as I've been in Alexa. So was part of the team that developed the web API for games, and then Ryan Matthews has been leading our solutions architecture for games for a while now. He's hopefully not watching as I mess up his tenure, but he's been leading the games team for 2.5 years, I believe, right now. He joined a couple years ago with Alexa. And these are two people that know quite a bit about Web API for games. Also, as a lead up to that office hours next week, you may have noticed this on your display devices, but Alexa has a new prompt for Play Game of the Week. So you can just ask her, Alexa, play Game of the Week, and you will get a recommendation for one of the games that are on Alexa. Just get some exposure to some of the experience that are built with both Web API for games and just vanilla APL and Alexa. So
that's
a challenge.
Awesome. I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, you should. It'll kind of rotate onto the screen occasionally, but yeah, it's one way to try out new gaming experiences. We also have some gaming experiences through Alexa on Fire TV, so you may find those as you are scrolling around. But I challenge everybody as your homework leading up to the next office hours to try a new game on Alexa that you haven't tried before.
I've tried a few. I'm a big interactive fiction nerd, so I like the ones that have a little bit of a story. I'm like a D&D role-playing kind of geek, so that's the kind of stuff I tend to gravitate toward. But I also really like I like the old school, like I say interactive fiction, but you think of it as like Zork, like go east, go west, go south.
Yeah, that's the bread and butter of Alexa. I think for several years was going back to old
Magic
school.
Door.
Yeah, Magic Door, great example of kind of those voice driven, you can't see anything, where are we going, dungeon scenarios.
Right.
But
what else do we got in the chat? Okay, we have a response to the odd time update handler both on a best effort basis. Yeah, that's
thanks, Amazon Alexa team.
Yes, thank you so much, Alexa team, for answering that question. We thought we were right, but we are happy to have the official word from y'all. Oh, she's talking. Alexa, stop. I thought I muted her.
Pepperfill on YouTube asked, it would be great to leverage older Echo devices like the Echo Show 5, which, by the way, is not end of life. It's not considered old yet. By having APIs to control the device, is there anything planned for that, or are those devices for the trash?
No. I love the Echo Show. Yeah.
Yeah, the Echo Show 5 is not end of life yet, so let's not call that one old. But let's talk about maybe the Echo Show 2, which released 2018, I think. Don't quote me on that. So we do have a return program, but no, we do not have any APIs or really any recommendations on how to flash the device so that you could turn it into a remote camera. But there is a return program. If you go to a search engine and look it up, or go on Amazon.com, you can see how to return the devices if you are done with them. Echo Show 5, old. Gosh, y'all. It's only been out a couple of years.
Yeah, it's not old. I think
pro tip: we devices are technically considered end of life 4 years after we stop selling them on the website. That's when we stop pushing security updates to them. It's 4 years after we stop selling them. So the Echo, even the Echo Spot, is technically not end of life yet because it resurrected itself on the website a few years ago. Okay.
Awesome. How long should we wait after submitting contact us tickets to get a response? I will follow up with you on that. I know we chat, so let's see what we can do to solve that problem offline, because it's going to vary from ticket to ticket, I think, in that case. A game focused office hours. Woo, yeah. I know, I'm excited too. That's, like I said, it's my passion. I love games, so very happy to have a game focused office hours. It's going to be super fun. We should have a ChatGPT to Alexa skill competition. I mean, it's not a bad idea. If y'all want to,
nobody's stopping you. Go for it. Yeah. So I feel, it's so interesting because I think the art of the possibility in people's minds is just endless. But the reality is, once you get into it, it's an input output. So I think for me, still that particular tool is best with search and coming up with Q&A. And I hear some people saying, oh, it's great at writing lyrics and songs. I have not experienced that. I tried to get it to write a short story, and it was I think my nomenclature was a little too advanced for it, so it just couldn't quite build on that. But
it got confused.
It did get confused. But I do like that it does, kind of graduated learning, and you can do contextual carryover and things like that. So yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, just saying, everybody do like an impromptu, unofficial ChatGPT to Alexa skill competition and see who comes up with the best.
Yeah, and I mean, people are out there every day doing game jams and stuff on platforms. Especially, it's a big thing with game developers. We'll throw together a weekly game jam kind of stuff. So if you have any interest in running a competition like that, I mean, it's awesome. That kind of stuff is awesome. We totally support, and if you do, let us know. We'll talk about it. If you've got people recommending games, I see one recommended twist tail skill. I'm going to look that one up too, because I like to look twist tail skill. I'm going to assume that's the kind of thing I dig, right? Which is the interactive storytelling, because that's my jam. I really like that stuff. So yeah, I'll check that one out. Thank you.
Yeah, if you're a big tabletop role playing fan, I believe it's still out there. Starfinder was released a couple years ago, which is of course the Paizo gaming system. So we do have a skill for Starfinder. It is quite fun, has some excellent voice acting. You might recognize some of the voices from other tabletop streaming shows that are on Twitch. But yeah, so give it a shot.
That's super cool. I'm interested in that. Definitely want to check that one out. I haven't played Starfinder. I played a lot of D&D. I touched a little Pathfinder back when it was new, and I haven't touched it in a long time. But we used to run a D&D game on Twitch.
Starfinder is really fun. They actually have, as part of the Starfinder Alexa skill launch, there is the beginner box. So if you've never played Starfinder, they start you out with a bunch of characters similar to pre-rolls when you do various D&D events. So if you're interested in it, I really enjoy it because it is a space component, and sometimes it's fun to get out and try something in a different setting. But it is a different rule set, so I found it, and there is ship combat, which is extremely difficult to adapt to, but very fun once you get it down. So highly recommend it.
That might be a fun complementary Alexa skill, like a ship combat. Especially if you had the screen, you could do a ship to ship combat skill. That would be really cool to do.
Yeah, at the time that Starfinder came out, which was, oh my gosh, when did it come out? It's been a while. 2019, I want to say, the skill. So, we obviously didn't have the Echo Show 15. And so one thing I'm really excited to see is how a lot of the games that we have, the mini games, Alexa Game of the Week, played the Game of the Week, just showed up on one of my Alexas. So there's a mini game this week.
I just looked it up, and we got Nathan Fillion in there.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's a pretty, it's a great experience. Yes, give it a shot. It is one where there's, as with most tabletop RPGs, it is very story intensive. So be prepared, as my partner likes to call it, where it's not a video game, it's a playable movie. Basically that. But I love it. I think the voice acting is probably what really makes it fun for me.
So we only have a few minutes left. Let's get to the rest of these questions, comments in the chat. From YouTube, sorry, only so many words to write. Might not be a good idea to point multiple illicit slot prompt elicitations to one illicit slot ID. Oh, that's a follow-up on the illicit slot question from earlier.
Yeah, Benjamin. I would say, because of the unique list of slots in the context of an intent and in the context of a dialogue, I don't actually think that it'll work. So probably not a good idea. And I say that with an asterisk because I haven't tried it. So you could give it a shot, but I don't think it'll work. It should be a unique instance of an ID every single time.
Man. And then we're just my favorite ChatGPT interaction. I asked to complete this lyric. Oh, very completing a lyric. I don't want to start singing, because then I'll start singing, and you want me to do that.
It's already stuck in my head, so
that's it. That's my whole day.
just giving up at this point.
I don't want to get DMCA'd on the
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's very funny. Yeah, a lot of what it does is like complete this or write this poem or write a lyric in this style of, or that kind of thing. So you can get a lot of fun interactions with it. I've seen a lot of fun stuff coming out of prompts and so forth.
So I think to close out, I mean, we've been talking a lot about games. You're priming for a games office hours next week. So what are some of the things that you're working on right now, skill wise, Alexa wise? Are you building a game? Are you building something else?
I'll talk to you about the skill I'm building. It's so dirty. I play Final Fantasy 14, and I think it would be really cool to have a Final Fantasy 14 companion helper skill on Alexa for those of us that are addicted to the MMO RPG the way I am. I think it would be really nice to. My first goal is to get it to tell me the weather, which it turns out that you can do because the weather is synced up per server. So
nice.
I would ask it the weather in a fictional location as opposed to the weather at my house, and I could find out whether, because a lot of things in the game are tied to the weather system. Like if you want to do fishing in the MMO, you have to know if it's raining or not, so certain fish come out. And rather than like go to there is a website that'll tell you what the weather is, but gosh, it would be great if I could just ask my Alexa, hey Alexa, would you remind me when it's raining at the Morby dry docks, so that it would just tell me like I have to go there and catch the fish that I need to catch or whatever.
Yeah, you could get notifications and reminders integrated too, so you could just set up a recurring reminder.
Right. Well. So next time that a particular monster spawns, for example, it'd be great to just have Alexa let me know. So that's the kind of thing that I'm working on right now as my personal project skill. I started doodling on it a little bit last year, and now I'm doing some other stuff. The other thing that I'm working on right now, which is less funny, but hopefully very valuable, is Jeff and I are tag teaming this. We are doing some new getting started series stuff for folks. We want to have some new, up-to-date basic code samples for folks just getting started with Alexa development. And that's something that is going to be a project of ours going forward for the short time. So you might see some new, like, simple skills that are coming out, showing up in videos and other platforms over the next couple of months. This is what we're trying to focus on, getting right and getting done. So that's for developers to help you to make what you're going to make. So really, does Destiny 2 have a companion app? Seems like a perfect game. They have a lot of API to manage a lot of stuff. Yeah. See, now you're thinking like, what game do I play that I could use a helper with? Because I'm telling you, I need this weather skill. I just need it. It's just something I need in my life.
So to comment on Malero comment on Twitch about Destiny 2, Destiny 2 is actually one of the original companion skills. It launched at the end of 2017. I believe it actually was announced at E3. No, that was Skyrim. But Destiny 2 is one of the original companion skills. It is quite old, and they were one of the first ones to do things like change your loadout. So I do play a lot of Destiny 2. I can't speak to the skill today. It has been around for a while, but they were doing things that I consider to be well ahead of their time. So it is from a standpoint of what they did at the time that they released it, is a very impressive skill. But yes, one does exist. And then always there's the fun gimmicky narrative skill that is Skyrim, about eating all the cheese.
That cracked me up when y'all launched that. I wasn't working in Lex at the time, but darn sure I played it because it just cracked me up. Yay, we can play Skyrim.
Yeah. It's surprisingly, it doesn't have multi-chapter narratives. It's just a fun basic experience, and people love it. To this day, it's been around for a while. That was the one I believe that they announced at E3 or something as part of the whole joke about we're going to release Skyrim again, and it was.
They're going to release Skyrim on every platform.
Yeah, on every platform, on the fridge, everywhere. It's
2011, 11 is when that game came out. I remember like it was yesterday because that's just a date that sticks in my head, and it's been around for such a long time.
Yeah, it's great.
Getting started is good. We could use an APL 400 level class. We are continuing to expand our APL offerings. So yeah, there are 5 trainings on APL, as mentioned in the Twitch chat. We're continuing to work on APL trainings as well. So good comment, good question. I think one of the things we focused on first with Alexa Learning Lab was the APL training. So, a couple more questions. Is there a way to get Alexa to tell me when snow is in the forecast in real life? That's actually really good. That's actually good. Probably yes, different ways.
I think you could just ask, is it going to snow this week?
Right, but an alert. Although I get weather alerts on mine. It's like if there's a National Weather Service alert, like it told me this morning it was going to snow.
So, we did just launch enhancements to the weather experience with additional alerts as well. But I think if you want proactive notifications on snow falling, that one I don't know that you can do. You can't ask it, is it going to snow this week?
There's an answer. You can have your Lambda access the weather sensors forecast. So there's skills you can do depending on how proactive you want your skill to be. So depends on what you're accessing to get that weather data, I think. The Final Fantasy weather data is different from real world weather data. It's very predictable in a video game and less predictable in real life. Well, that's our show, I think. We're at 1 o'clock. Oh, 1 o'clock my time.
10 a.m. for those of us on the West Coast.
10 a.m. for the West Coast. Oh my gosh, time just flew. This was so much fun.
Yeah, this is great.
And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me today. This is a great conversation. Thank you for answering the questions. Have any parting thoughts for everybody?
No, just have fun. Break all the things. I look forward to watching the games chat next week, and I look forward to seeing what you're going to build, Amanda. So
yeah, next week games chat. Working on my game companion skill, and then I think I'm going to make a game skill. So
I think given the market size of people that play Final Fantasy 14, I think you could probably get a nice little group of people who are.
I think it would be really exciting to have this functioning and working. People would really get a lot of benefit out of having it app up and working. So once it's up and running, we're gonna do it. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you so much for coming by, Stefania. It was a pleasure. We will see y'all next week with the games team.
All right.
Thanks,
everybody.